Bang. Welcome back, folks. Great to be back in the studio with CJ and Monty. We were just talking since, it's not like these guys aren't trading 24/7. So you could call them up anytime. You could drop in on that chat room that they run and see this or hear this same conversation. But man, we're all just kind of shaking our heads over. You've got the Bitcoin conference. You've got Laura Loomer calling out Jack up on stage and basically calling him a fascist. And then Jack saying, well, don't worry, we're going to have a decentralized Twitter soon. And I'm like, yeah. And you've got Paraguay, Salvador, and other countries having very positive chatter. In a normal time, this would have lifted these digital assets, cryptocurrencies, significantly. But there is so much fear out there. I'll just tell you, I'm looking at the Crypto Fear and Greed Index, guys, by our buddies. And right now, extreme fear. It's at a 13. Last week, it was a 20. Last month, it was 73. Yesterday, it was 15. It's 13 today. So this is the equivalent, folks, of, if we put it in terms of volatility and the VIX, this would be like, okay, the VIX is 45 or 50. And people are going, that's not sustainable, but it's probably a BTFD, by the effing dip situation, because everybody's running around with their hair on fire. I am not understanding why people are quite as fearful as they are, but you guys are both technicians as well as longer participants in the market than me. Where's all the fear coming from? It's not all just Elon Musk FUD anymore. Where is this fear?
Well, to your point, John, about the positive news not having an impact on price, I think if we would have gotten this news at a much higher price, say when we were ascending to like 50 or 60K, it would have bolstered the market a lot. We probably would have had some really explosive price action. The reason why we're probably not seeing that is just because we're in such a macro downturn. We got all these moving averages turning over, flipping from support to resistance. So when you get a piece of news, I just feel it's maybe the impact of it can be slightly diminished just because of the overall trend, the fear that you mentioned specifically also in the fear and greed index. I mean, it's just each new market cycle, you get a lot of new market participants that aren't really used to these types of moves in Bitcoin. And there's a lot of fear circulating as a result.
Yeah, I think you're 100% right, CJ. And if you just look at the Bitcoin chart behind us, you can see, on the way up, we were very prone to positive news related events. When Elon tweeted that Tesla was, buying some Bitcoin and they were accepting Bitcoin as payment, we saw a significant increase in price. And I think CJ's spot on in the sense that, the amount or the extent to which we're susceptible to news related events is entirely dependent on the strength and the direction of the trend that we're in. And, it's interesting because even when, some positive news comes out, depending on the strength of the trend and the direction of the trend, that news can be interpreted in various ways. So one thing that was really interesting over the last couple of days was the news that the Colonial hackers with the Colonial pipeline, their Bitcoin was seized by the FBI. And this news was interpreted in a multitude of ways. I saw some people on Twitter saying, hey, how is this possible? I thought Bitcoin was, it was untraceable. It's the crypto of the cash of choice for criminals. That's not true. That's never been true. And I think that this is a great example of that. Bitcoin exists on a ledger, and it's not even like the FBI, directly hacked into this Bitcoin wallet address. No, that's not what happened. These hackers were using a cloud server. The FBI got a subpoena for that cloud server and likely had, the admins of that cloud server reset the root passwords, and that was able to give them access to their Bitcoin wallets. They didn't, get their private keys. They didn't hack their Bitcoin wallet. This was just an instance of, using governmental jurisdictions to get subpoenas and, shut down a project in a different way, in a more macro way. And that's exactly what happened. So I've seen people saying that, this is counterintuitive to the ethos of Bitcoin, but really I think this is good in the sense that, damages that money laundering argument that Bitcoin is, the currency of choice for criminals. That's not true. And I think this is a great example of that.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I've told CJ and Monty before, guys, that when I was touring in Europe, helping promote some projects and things like that, I was at times with an FBI agent. He was completely separate, but we were on the same circuit. And he was talking about the compliance side of coins, in particular Bitcoin at that time. There, of course, were still thousands of altcoins even back then, and ICOs were very, very prevalent. That's initial coin offering and direct coin offerings and all that kind of stuff were going on. But he said, yeah, any criminal that's using this is stupid because, the most untraceable thing in the world is $100 bills. If you're using Bitcoins, you're dumb. And to that point, Alex Thorne, I'll tweet these out, and I bet both of you guys saw this, but Alex Thorne, and his handle is Intangible Coins, and he's got 11,000 followers. He said that on Saturday, May 8th, ransom funds were sent from a U.S. exchange to a dark side address. This is on May 8th, okay? This is the Colonial Pipeline payout, and moved around to several other areas that day. After laying dormant for several weeks, on May 27th, 69,000 BTC landed at the warrant address. So it's exactly what Monty said, as far as, the FBI was following this thread. They could have used something that would have been a little less, that would have caused a little less interest to be brought upon them, but these hackers apparently were really smart hackers, but not really smart in the covering their tracks. And keep in mind that when Silk Road went down, it went down because he made one mistake. He did a lot of bad things. And if you want to view selling, creating the Amazon.com for drugs and then branched into other stuff, even more nefarious, that's not the really, really bad things he did. He allegedly paid for hits and things like that on various people, even though those hits were not carried out. But his intent was that he paid, for hits. And he thought that these were carried out by Hell's Angels and others to hurt people. But that's not how they caught him. That helped them catch him. But when he first created his wallet, he had one little thing that he left out there, that a kernel, if you will, that the FBI found and was able to just pull on that thread until they found, roughly the area that this person, again, they don't know. It's the wallets don't have names on them, but they were able to go and follow that wallet then around the internet. And even as he was moving into South America or Hawaii or wherever he was traveling to. Anyway, one more quick thing from this Alex Thorne character regarding the dark side. This is a tweet from him regarding the dark side Colonial Pipeline ransom. We looked on chain and found a pattern that seems to show the funds ultimately flowed to a trading desk or exchange that was willing to comply with the US warrant. Now, what Alex is pointing out here, guys, is that all of a sudden that thing was just sold, just went onto the market because they wanted cheddar, they wanted the cash. And, they've never apparently watched like The Italian Job or any of these movies where the guys lay low for a while, right? Laying low for a month with 69,000 coins, 69,000, let's just do that real quick. 69,000 times, let's say $40,000. If you've got that many coins, $2.76 billion worth of coins flowing around, it's going to get noticed. And you didn't drip it out. They just, moved the whole damn thing. But anyway, we're getting off track a little bit. We just wanted to let you guys know that that's a little bit according to Alex Thorne and others, that's some of the pressure on the markets right here. And that's not fear, uncertainty, and doubt. But I think it's a little bit of the uncertainty part that Monty addressed, CJ, was the uncertainty part of what happened is how exactly, what happened. And Monty did a good job already describing how that happened. But that uncertainty where people think all of a sudden, oh my God, my wallet could be, hacked, even if it's offline and blah, blah, blah. No, it can't. No, it can't. That's not how this thing went down.
Yeah. And it's funny, John, you mentioned Silk Road, and I saw CJ's face light up. I know that's one of his favorite topics to discuss because it's such an interesting era of the Bitcoin history. But while we're talking about Ross Ulbricht, the FBI knew that he was Dread Pirate Ross and running Silk Road for quite a while. But in order to, catch him and indict him, they needed to catch him with his laptop open because it would automatically encrypt when he closes it. So what they did is they staged an altercation at a library between two individuals. So he had to step up and walk away from his laptop. And in those couple of seconds where he was walked away from his laptop, the FBI snagged it up, searched through it, and, indicted him. And he's serving a life sentence in prison. So, it's a really interesting story. And I think, this is just the most recent example of proving that Bitcoin is not hackable. Wallet addresses are not hackable, but the FBI can still find workarounds to incriminate those that are using Bitcoin in criminal activity.
Yeah, I believe that was in San Francisco Public Library, if I'm not
Yep.
mistaken, something like
Yep.
that.
And they had an FBI agent pretend to trip a woman, I guess they thought an attractive woman that would distract him, appeared to trip in front of him. And he got up to help her, to catch her as she was falling or whatever. And then the other guy put his hands immediately on the laptop, and the agents grabbed Russ, and that it was over. Because just to Monty's point, if he were to have closed the lid on that computer, you'd have to know his password to get into it. And then they don't have the evidence that they need. But then they got it and they sold it to, guess who, guys? I think you guys know, Tim Draper.
Yep,
Tim Draper bought 30,000 Bitcoin. We saw him walking around. He was walking right by the Voyager booth, and we're saying, hey, Tim. And yeah, he bought those coins, which was really just like the pizza, one of those times when they really proved the viability of Bitcoin, not because of the Russ Ulrich stuff, but because of the fact that the US government sold those Bitcoins that they obtained, just like, when US Marshals seize drug dealers' cars or whatever, and they can sell that. Well, obviously a Ferrari has a value, and obviously Bitcoin had a value, and Draper bought, I think, 30,000 of those coins.
Yes, he did. And I know CJ, we always talk about how much we'd love to have one of those Bitcoin, because that's not so much for their value, but just because of their role in the history of the Bitcoin, story. I think that'd be really interesting. But we've done a lot of talking about news and stories and whatnot. Let's do some technicals. And CJ, you sent me a pretty interesting Bitcoin chart. It's been a relatively strange week for Bitcoin. We're starting to get some turnovers and some pretty critical levels. You want to talk about that and tell us what you're seeing in the Bitcoin chart currently?
Yeah, so ever since we started this episode, we've already fallen about $800 in price. So we have had a pretty decent sell-off during the midst of this filming. What I want to highlight and talk about today is the Bollinger Bands and the fact that they've just really turned over. And so one entry signal for me, and what a strategy I really like to use when using the bands, and this is specifically with upper and lower bands that are only one standard deviation apart from one another. So when we have a break of the outer band in the direction of where the band is going, so therefore, we just broke below the bottom band, and the bottom band is turning over and descending. Therefore, that would activate a short trade in my rules. Now, when you would get out of that short trade or close the short is when we came back up and closed above the bottom band. But we have yet to do that. And so we still have a lot of bearish momentum. We do have some moderate support levels at around 29 to 31K. But overall, the way I would position myself, and this also leads into my Doge of the day, is just, I'd hold the Bitcoin that I currently have, but with any extra, sidelined capital, I want the 26 puts. I want something to hedge if Bitcoin does go to 29 or even 26, like we've kind of talked about, because at that point, you can sell the puts, you have a nice profit, and you can buy more Bitcoin. So I try not to think of it in the short term as opposed to dollar value. I try to think of it more as how much Bitcoin can I get over the long haul. It's more of a game of accumulation in that sense. So that's kind of my strategy and how I've been playing the market right now.
Yeah, CJ, I'm right there with you. I see you have these kind of two areas highlighted. What do you think the odds are of us retesting that area between, approximately 35 and 25K over the next week? Is that something you see happening possibly as soon as this weekend or later in the week?
Yeah, I mean, there's no definite time frame about when it has to happen. One thing I think that's pretty interesting is that we talked about the TD buy 9, the red 9 yesterday on the weekly. Oh, yeah, I saw that. A lot of times, and I probably should have said this and been more clear, but a lot of times, whether it's a 9 going up or going down, the trend will continue in that direction for the length of the week. After the week, however, or even, one additional week after the 9, that's when we actually see the reversal and see kind of a return to the mean, or at least some type of mild regression. So yeah, we might break those levels, but I think it's a little too early to say. All that I can say for certain is that using those Bollinger Band rules, I want the 26 puts. I still want to look for the downside price action. We're not out of the woods yet.
Well, just to throw one more thing out, folks, before we move on to the doges of the day. Two things, actually. One, thank you, Voyager, for a great time down there at the Bitcoin Miami, for them being so generous with their time. I think Steve Ehrlich, the CEO, how many CEOs just sit there shaking hands with people for 2 days or maybe 3 days at the booth? I mean, there was a line around that place. We certainly appreciate you, Steve. Obviously, a lot of your clients do. And we appreciate that you sponsor this program. So if you guys want $25 in Bitcoin like that, all you got to do is go to Voyager Digital, the sponsor of this show. And if in the promo code you enter Rebel25, they'll give you $25 in Bitcoin to get you started. The other thing I wanted to mention, guys, was this microblogging platform in China, Weibo, has banned a bunch of cryptocurrency accounts. And this is not unexpected, but nonetheless, when this hits, we mentioned Salvador, we mentioned Paraguay, and some of the potentially positive catalysts for Bitcoin and cryptos in general. But this is another one of those, negatives, because obviously some of the miners are being driven out of China. That'll be good overall if that happens, to the extent that China has basically been giving away electricity to some of these miners in exchange for cheddar. But not paying the same fees that people pay around the world for per kilowatt hour. So the hash that comes out of China has been, pushing that 50% barrier for quite a while. Getting that out of China is probably a really good thing, guys, not having China be 50% of the hash rates out there. But nonetheless, when China cracks down, yeah, it always has a little bit of an impact. But then, it's like a tube of toothpaste. You squeeze it here and it goes to the other end. China squeezes these guys out, they will be up and running somewhere else as quickly as, their private jets can carry them. So I'm not terribly concerned, except short term.
And also some more positive news for the West. Google just allowed cryptocurrency companies to start running ads on Google again. So that's big. I think that could be big for retail traders, getting into cryptocurrency as well. So that's something that I really love to see.
Yeah, it really helps crypto businesses actually being able to advertise and tell people you exist. I mean, that's a really big deal to businesses.
Yeah, surprisingly, right? I mean, that's Facebook's whole model. It's, we and obviously they're doing well with Instagram with that. because of stories and all the rest. But yeah, if you can't advertise, then you're just at the mercy of whatever influencer happens to be your hired gun, or in Elon Musk's case, he might put that hired gun to his own head. He's, by the way, right now we are below his entry, but for those coins, that billion plus that they bought and sold 100 million of, we are below Tesla's entry. And, quite frankly, folks, that could be some of the additional pressure right now.
Yeah. Well, we've been talking about Bitcoin for quite a while. Let's give the people what they want. Let's do our doges of the day. Dr. J, you want to start us off today?
All right, I'll start us off today. I would go with Ethereum, but I know that, first of all, it's not a Doge. Second of all, I know CJ just did it yesterday, and I do like it below 2,400 here. But I'm going to go with Binance Coin, guys. BNB, Binance Coin. If you're looking at a bottoming at some level, 30,000, some people are saying, oh, we've got to go back to the 20,000-ish level for Bitcoin if this 30,000 area breaks. I think 30 holds as support. So if you're somebody like me who believes that, then you'd rather be in something that's going to move pretty quickly to the upside. Bitcoin, yeah, could it get back to 38, 40? Yep, could. But I think Binance Coin could go right back over 400. So Binance Coin at 335, guys.
Very nice. Very nice. Binance Coin for Dr. Doge. CJ, you were talking about possibly buying some puts. Is that your Doge of the day today?
Yeah, more of just a strategy. I don't really have a desire to play any short-term alts. I do really like John's pick, Binance Coin. I like that. In terms of accumulating, if we get further down, kind of in more bearish territory, I think certain ones like Binance Coin, it's absolutely amazed me how a quality project kind of like Luna has sold off so drastically. I was looking at that chart earlier as well. I see those projects kind of being very related with their Asian dominance and, just that popularity in that side of the globe. So I will be looking at those two to accumulate. But yeah, as of now, in terms of a Doge of a day, I'm just kind of hedging, waiting to just sit out this downturn.
Yeah, CJ, I think that's a smart choice. But yeah, I'll close it off with one that I do like in terms of an asset that people can start accumulating. And that is StormX. So we met with Simon Yu, the founder of StormX, over the weekend in Miami. And, I talked to him about the growth of StormX over the past month. And, if you look at the chart, it kind of almost looks like StormX is right back where it started at the beginning of the year, trending around 2 cents. But really, StormX it kind of differentiates itself from a lot of the other altcoins that pumped during this time in the sense that they onboarded a ton of new users to their app. And I think that puts in a really strong price floor at $2. We've seen a lot of assets over the past 2 weeks, turn down significantly. StormX has held this $2 level strong. And I think that the reason that's happening is because of the fact that, during that period of some really exciting price action, they got a lot of new users using the app, a lot of people making purchases through the StormX app and getting, crypto back. And also they established a significant amount of users that are willing to stake their StormX for 14.5% APY. So when you see something like that sort of model, that for me puts in a good price floor. And I think that StormX, has some solid fundamentals. It's positioned well to run up when Bitcoin does make that second run up. And the fact that it hasn't really turned down with the rest of the market and broken below $2 makes me think that it has a bit of a price floor here. So I'm going to be watching this closely for the rest of the week. And as it dips to $2, I'm going to continue to accumulate. I've been telling CJ, I've been putting a lot of USDC into my Voyager account, not just for that interest, but to have that dry powder ready to go. And, I think that that's going to really pay off because a lot of these assets are going to move quick. And StormX is one that I'll be looking to accumulate to kind of get ahead of that quick move. So that's my Doge of the day today, StormX. And that's all I got for you guys.
I really like that. I think the StormX staking is going to be huge. hopefully I'm fingers crossed. I'm thinking Voyager will have a lot more interest on StormX within the near future as a result of that. But thank you folks for watching. Don't forget, if you'd like to get our trade ideas, insights, and join our trading community, you can try it out for just $1 for the first month in the link below at marketrebellion.com/try crypto. Monty and I are in there 24/7 answering questions and giving various analysis on the market. So we appreciate that, guys, and we hope you're well. But gentlemen, any closing words here?
Again, I'll just point out that if you're somebody like me who wants to watch volume, I've got a 74% jump in volume in Binance. So that was the reason behind mine. I forgot to mention that.
All right. Well, there you have it, folks. Today was a bit of a long episode, but I hope you enjoyed it. So thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see you again tomorrow, same time, with another episode of Daily Crypto Byte. Thank you guys for watching. See you again tomorrow.
Bang.